the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, which came into existence exactly 73 years ago today. That is on the 1st of July, 1949, even before India had become a republic. All the practitioners who were earlier known as registered accountants were now rechristened as chartered accountants, or in short, CAs. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Pramit Pratim Ghosh, but you may choose to remember me just as PPG. I think it's a little easy to remember that way. It is my honor and privilege to be your host for today. And let me begin by wishing each and every one of you a very, very happy CA Day. Today's event by Tally Solutions seeks to salute the prime movers of the business ecosystem, you, the CA community, and seeks to celebrate them for their integrity and excellence. But coming back to the motto once again, Ya Eshu Sapteshu Jagruti literally means a person who's awake amongst those who are asleep. And isn't that, ladies and gentlemen, exactly why our beloved community of CAs represent? They stay awake by staying updated on what's happening in the compliance ecosystem. They stay awake by staying vigilant about business accounting practices. They stay awake by being that solid pillar of support for innumerable businesses across the world who rely on them day in and day out. And which is why, to make this day even more special for you, our beloved CAs, we have lined up for you over the next couple of hours a power-packed event which will see 2 panel discussions, some thoughts from the leadership here at Tally, and of course, a dose of stand-up comedy. So without further ado, I would like to start off the proceedings for today by setting the stage for the first panel discussion, which is themed around the role of technology in shaping the future of CAs. But before we begin, a small disclaimer. It's probably a given that during the course of both of the panel discussions that we have lined up today and the overall event in general, you may have a lot of questions or queries that you would want to ask the panelists, or probably you might have some comments to share with us. We will request you to keep going to the chat section in your Zoom panel and keep posting your queries and comments so that our team will try to answer as many questions as possible in the course of the event. Having said that, in case some questions go unanswered, the team will reach out to you over mail in some time and provide the appropriate responses. Also, all of you are most welcome to visit the CA community portal at community.tallysolutions.com, where you can also post your queries, and our esteemed CAs who are part of that community will be happy to cater to all the queries that you may have. So on that note, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce the person who's going to be the moderator for both our panel discussions today. Someone who is an independent forensic accountant with more than 5 years of experience in the field of forensic investigations and risk management. She specializes in the analysis of white-collar crimes, has worked on investigation assignments pertaining to embezzlement of funds, manipulation of financial statements, and also allegations of money laundering. Armed with a master's degree in criminology, with a specialization in economic offenses from the National Institute of Criminology and Forensic Science at New Delhi, along with a bachelor's degree from the John Jay College of Criminal Justice in New York, she is also associated with the National College at Bandra as a visiting faculty for subjects of industrial law and business law. Ladies and gentlemen, with a huge round of applause from wherever you are, let's welcome onto the virtual stage, Ms. Devaki Naik. Hi, Ms. Devaki. So happy
Thank you. Thank you for the generous introduction. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Devaki. The pleasure is absolutely mine. It's now time to welcome our esteemed panelists who will be part of this first panel discussion here today. Our first panelist is someone who has been the president of the ICAI for the year 2020-21. He has been the vice president of the ICAI the year before that, which is 2019-20. He has chaired innumerable committees within the ICAI, such as the Digital Accounting and Assurance Board, Board of Studies, the IT Committee, and Indirect Taxes Committee. In addition, he holds the post of chairman at the ICAI Accounting Research Foundation and at the Extensible Business Reporting Language, that is XBRL India. Not only is he a member of GASAB, IRDA, SEBI's Primary Market Advisory Committee, but also he's on the board of International Federation of Accountants as well as XBLR International. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the virtual stage somebody who probably needed no introduction in the first place, CA Atul Kumar Gupta. Namaste, sir. Glad to have you on board today.
Thank you, PPG.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Our second panelist is someone who is the regional council member of the WIRC, that is the Western India Regional Council of the ICAI, and has also been its past secretary. He leads forensic services and stressed assets restructuring initiatives and is mentor to 6 startups for whom he has not just been a source of support, but for whom he has also raised funding. He's passionate about meditation, dancing, driving to dreamy destinations, and is also a trainer, a speaker, and an educator par excellence. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome onto the virtual stage none other than CA Arpit Kabra. Arpit ji, namaste.
Thank you, PPG. It's a pleasure to be around.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much. Great. So I guess we are all set to start off our first panel discussion for today. I will now hand it over to Ms. Devaki Nayak to take the proceedings forward. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Prameet. Thank you very much. It's an absolute honor to be a part of this session with Atulji and Arpitji. Both of them are stalwarts in their own field. And I'm really looking forward to an enriching conversation with the both of them. Without further ado, I'd like to jump straight to the discussion. Atulji, starting with your response and followed by Arpitji, I would like to set the tone of today's session by discussing how has technology influenced the way traditional chartered accounting practices were carried out? What has the change been like? What, according to you, is the current scope of technology in the field of chartered accounting? Atulji, I would like you to grace us with your response.
Thank you, Devika ji. Devaki ji, at the outset, I will convey my congratulations to all the audience of this wonderful program on the occasion of the CA Day. Happy CA Day to all my colleagues, all my friends, Arpit, and each one of you who are attending this program. And my best wishes for your future endeavor. And I believe that this is a very apt time when you organize this program, and we are going to discuss about the technology in the CA profession. Devaki ji, you have raised a point that how this technology evolved over a period of time, what should be the way forward for the professional colleagues. So based on my experience in the last 20 plus years and then at the global level, what I can say that the technology disruption, the IT disruption is very, very important for all of us. The days were there when the chartered accountants were struggling to match the trial balance. Even there is a difference of ₹1, then they have to wait for 3 days, 2 days to match the same. And today we are not discussing about the trial balance at all. So you will agree with me that these days, what is the trial balance at times for the smaller companies is not a point of discussion. So what I will say that whether it is the accounting side or it is the compliance side, the technology has taken a big leap. Today, our chartered accountants are for the accounting purpose, for the other compliances related to filing of returns, whether it is an income tax return or a GST returns, they are doing the wonderful job. They have adopted the technology into their routine activities. But again, as I mentioned, you mentioned my colleagues in the number of occasions that the technology is a big disruptor as well. And that is something that we need to take note of that and see that how the technology is going to behave and what preparation should be there and on the part of the chartered accountants. I used to quote various example that today when we were crossing the toll plazas, so there was a long queues, and in spite of the good roads were there, but we were getting annoyed or aggrieved because of the waiting time at the toll plaza. But now the toll plazas are completely because of the technology that we can pass on the toll plaza without any kind of a barrier. So it's a second's job now. But one thing which we need to understand that there was a guy who was working over there and earning his livelihood from that ticketing job, but that job is no more required. But yes, there is at the same time a new age job which emerges out from that particular aspect. That is a reconciliation between the two guys, that is the toll plaza guy and the toll plaza company and the technology providing company, meaning thereby there is always a new age job which emerges out whenever there will be the disruption will happen. So, but one way is that we feel that, okay, the guy will become unemployed. The another way is that there will be a new skill set which the guy can acquire and can do a white collar job rather than a blue collar job. So the same way, whether you will see about the doctors, because today is the doctors day as well. If you will see the doctors profession, you will see the chartered accountancy profession, or you see the any other profession, you will agree with me that the technological disruption will be there. And what will happen that our routine and repetitive jobs will be getting outsourced to the systems on the one or the other day. The World Economic Forum issued a report and mentioned that by the next few years, there will be a lot of transformation will happen when the routine and repetitive jobs related to the accounting and the bookkeeping and related thereto will be outsourced to the system. There will be the job loss. But at the same time, they mentioned that there will be the double of the job which will emerge out from a data analytics side. So what we have to do, that we have to concentrate more on the jobs which require the skepticism, which require the wisdom as compared to the routine and repetitive things. And that is something that we need to understand, that there will be the new age jobs and we have to continuously reskill our skills. I will go on further saying that in the times to come, what will happen, that there will be the two segments. One will be the data, the another will be the processing of the data, and the third one is the analysis of the processed data. So what Devki, I am trying to convey all my colleagues here from this platform, that the job will be, because ultimately the garbage in, garbage out kind of a situation is always there. So once the data, unless and until the data will not be verified, the data will not be sensitized, now what will happen, the process will be again process will not be able to give the right result. So, and finally the analysis. So what I'm trying to convey, my friends, here, that the job will be to analyze to see the sensitize the data, that whether the data is right or not, because the process will be outsourced to the system. Later or sooner, it will be outsourced to the disruptive technology, and then the analysis part. So my job will remain either the sensitization of the data, either to see that whether the data is right or not, and the last job, that is the analytical part of the data reports, which will be coming from the process data. But that processing job, will be outsourced to the system by one or the other way. And that is something that we need to learn, understand, and prepare ourselves, reskill ourselves for the times to come. So these are my initial thoughts. I believe that the Arpit can add into this, and then we have the another discussion, and I will be speaking on.
Certainly. Thank you, Atulji, for raising such interesting examples. These examples are what really convey the point to our audience, and it stays with them. So thank you for starting the discussion on such a positive note. Arpitji, over to you. Please tell us what your thoughts are on the same subject.
Honorable Past President C. Atul Kumar Ji Gupta, I think no better than him to start this amazing conversation when technology and chartered accountancy practice. He's someone who's come from a very humble background, and I think, having started off as a GST, he specializes in GST, for example, and we can see the best example, the demonstration of this question is lies in this frame itself. This is what we are doing. This is what we are discussing. Otherwise, if at all if we were to do something, if we were to talk about any of these accounting concepts or something, we would have been sitting in a room and we're doing all this. So I think the way this is influenced, this has gone from beyond our imagination. Traditional practice, let me tell you, auditing, attestation, taxation, ROC, FEMA, these are all the practices, largely just traditional practice, and indirect taxes to an extent. Now, most of these services are being done by chartered accountants through softwares. Most of these. And now, whether they realize or not, somewhere we are creating an enormous amount of data, and we are the owners of those data. We have these data with us. Now look at a scenario wherein a person who has to file a condonation letter under taxation to an assessing officer, what he would have done typically is go to maybe open up his computer, go to his old folders, pick up a file, change the name, all of that, client name, this, that, and the same letter is printed again. But what happens is he forgets the date, for example, or he forgets the assessment year or whatever XYZ, because copy pasting, we were always told to be smart enough, copy karo theek hai, but be smart enough to not to make those errors. But believe me, these days, all you need to do is everything is now keyword based. all I need to do is condonation letter, and an entire sample gets picked up from the master data and the format, and it merges and gives me a letter. Not only this, I also get a fully written submission with the use of technology smartly. I'm telling you, and a very simple thing, I can compose, I can write a thousand words or letters, letter, an entire document in just under 4 minutes. All I need to do is have clarity of my mind, clarity of thoughts, understand what is my final product, and give those instructions to this robot, to this monitor, to this screen, to this product, to technology. So, the way this disruption is coming up, all we need to do is stand up, consciously look at it, and see how it is impacting our traditional practices. And in one way or the other, the scope, forget everything. Bank audits last year during the pandemic, the entire bank audits were done sitting at home. Work from home, that concept, really, this corona has really made us go leaps in futures. Now, believe me, not only this, the largest of the banks, the auditing is done based on simple technology tools and on 100% checking basis, no test checking. So I think what is happening right now is, because of technology, we are moving ahead in terms of understanding what was there 74 years ago or 73 years ago, what was there as a practice for chartered accountant. The definition of work that a CA has to do is now totally changed. We are now no more into processing. We are now more into analysis, now more into ensuring the deliverables are much more right, apt, and to the point. So I think this is a sort of disruption this technology has brought into our traditional practicing for chartered accountants. And whether or not we like it, we need to gear up for it, stand up, accept it, and probably try working towards it. That's it from my end for this question, Deviki.
Thank you, Arpit ji. Thank you very much. Excellent start to the discussion. I think both Atul ji and Arpit ji, with their practical examples, have given us insights into what the topic and what the discussion for today is going to hold. So moving on with the examples shared by them, I would now like to ask them to share some technology related initiatives which are being implemented on a global level. And how exactly can chartered accountants practicing in India adopt these best practices in their scope of work when they are practicing in India? So Atulji, will you please share some initiatives which you've seen on a global level or which are new to India?
Devki ji, what I will say that today the chartered accountants who are around 400,000 chartered accountants are there who qualified from the ICI, and they are presently serving more than 100 countries. I believe that not less than 10% of the chartered accountants from the overall strength are now presently based at the global level. So saying this, that what they can learn, I believe that they are well informed about the various initiatives which is happening globally. And as rightly mentioned by Arpit Bhai, that today we are living in a global village. So everybody is aware that, okay, what is happening in the one or the other location through the mode of technology. Likewise, like you are sitting somewhere, I am sitting somewhere, and Arpit is sitting somewhere, but we are well connected through this platform which is available. But nevertheless, since we are going to, today we are doing an introspection and the way forward. So I will just touch upon the certain aspect which I witness that which is happening. Number one, that as I mentioned you, as I discussed with you, that globally the efforts are there to more on the data audit. So today we have the ISO 9000 guidelines are there when we talk about the data, that how the data should be there, what kind of a data should be there, and all these things are there. Number two, the processing. So what is happening, that there is a lot of integration which is happening across the ecosystem for the integration of the activity. For example, earlier days, we were doing a lot of punching job. Say, for example, we have an accounting software, you are doing a lot of punching, but today the data is getting integrated into the accounting software by the various mode. May it be the PDF, may it be the scanned document, may it be the through the RPAs, that is robotic process automation, and so on. So today, again, as I mentioned you to answer the first question, that the processing part is getting automated. So the ecosystem around the processing is also getting automated globally. So that's something very, very important that we have to see. Say, for example, you are raising an invoice. Now, whether the raising of invoice will require a printing of the invoice and then punching to the accounting software, the answer is no. Whether you are getting the invoice, like for example, you are buying from somebody. Now, whether you are receiving the invoice and then the accountant is punching the data, the answer is no. That is not required. So what I will see, well, I will say on the first part, that there is a lot of integration which is happening. So vertical integration which is happening, that the job part, step 1 and step 2 is getting integrated in such a way that if you are getting a right amount, right invoice, automatically it will integrate into your accounting system, so that there will not be any processing, the human intervention into the processing of the data. The one part which is very, very important. The another part which I will say, I will be discussing afterwards as well, that is about the protection of the data. So what is happening that today when we have a lot of data, Arpit mentioned that we conducted the audit in a very in a virtual environment during the COVID. But again, it's very, very important that how the data is being getting protected, because when you will have all the luxuries of the automation, all the benefits of the automation, that the speed and cost and everything will be there will be the threats as well. So there is a lot of efforts are getting, I will say the energies are getting deployed or being spent or invested on this part, that how we are transacting, how we are transferring the data, how the data are being getting protected from the misuse. So as rightly mentioned by Arpit, that we are getting a lot of data, but at the same time, how we are protecting that data of not getting misused is something that we are, the overall global efforts are getting into. That the second part. The third part is that again, that there are a lot of analytical tools which are getting developed. For example, my chartered accountant colleagues are also using the software like IDEA. I'm not saying that the IDEA is best or IDEA is not the best. I'm just giving a name. That the one software is there which is giving a lot of analytical side of the data. So globally now the professionals, because there is a very thin line between the assurance and the investigation. So at times they are looking for an investigation side. So I believe that the global professional colleagues are now looking for some kind of a technological support for the analyzing of the data as well. So that is the third part I witnessed globally, that a lot of these kind of tools are emerging and they are getting used by the professionals for the analysis of the data as well. The next one is about the integration between the process data and then the integration with the various kind of compliance applications. So what I'm trying to convey you, that for example, we are taking a data from the tally, and then say for one way is that, okay, I'm doing accounting and then I'm getting some certain data, and then I'm punching the same data again into the some kind of a written filing software or some kind of a Companies Act or a GST or a income tax. But what is happening, that this integration is also happening, that once you have the invoice, the data will be punched automatically into the accounting package, and the accounting package will transfer the data through the API to the compliance application as well. So in this way, it is automatically getting processed without any kind of a human intervention. That is the point which is happening. The next one is about the office management softwares. So there is a lot of initiatives. I believe that the various tech companies are doing that, how you will be able to bill your client, how you will be able to record that, okay, how much time you have devoted to a particular task and what is the efficiency and the proficiency. That is something there is there. Again, I will touch upon only one point because we have the paucity of time. So I will be not taking a lot of time, but I will say that one point which is again very, very important is about the knowledge pool. That is the crux of the profession, that ultimately what is our profession? Our profession is based on the research and the knowledge. As rightly mentioned, started by the PPG, that ya esh sapteshu jagrati, meaning thereby the person who is awake when everybody is sleeping is a chartered accountant. And then you will go forward. Then the next sentence says that the shaping the desire after desire, meaning thereby the person who is aware that what will be the future. He is aware about the new age jobs and then reskilling his skills. So my submission to all the professional colleagues here, that globally the firms are getting are collaborating to manage the resource, the knowledge pool as well. So it's very, very important that Arpit and myself are sharing the knowledge pool in such a way that because of that we are the small and medium practitioners, we don't have the resources available wherein we can pool so much of our resources, but together we can. So one aspect is Arpit is expert. The another aspect, Devki ji is expert. Now what they are doing, they are creating a knowledge pool in such a way that everybody who is a part of that ecosystem can use that knowledge pool. And that's something is a benefit of the technology, that you are sitting in one country or one geographical location. He is sitting in the another geographical location, but you are using resource, you are collaborating with the knowledge pool, and that helps each other. So these are the few initiatives which I witness globally. I just maybe because I'm taken a lot of time, so I just wish to again I will say that jot down the few aspects. One is that there is a lot of efforts on the process automation, back to back, the complete integration of the process, maybe from accounting to the API, through the API to the data into the compliance applications. The another aspect which I witness is about the safety of the data. A lot of efforts and the energies are getting invested on the how to protect the data, how to protect the client data, and how to manage your entire ecosystem. The third one is about this which I mentioned about the office management software, which is a lot of energy are getting invested into. The fourth one is about this knowledge resources, the pooling of the knowledge resources, which is happening globally in the technology side of the profession.
Thank you, Atulji. Beautifully touched upon each of them. As they say, with great power comes great responsibility. So the data safety and security point which you raised was very, very essential. And I'm sure with the risk that technology brings in, there are also the benefits, but it's upon us to balance both of them and make the best use of it. So thank you, Atulji, for summarizing the points for us. Arpitji, over to you. Please tell us more about this.
We are powerful. The kind of data that we possess is just, and the classified data, process data, and to the point, if some companies, they understand this importance, I think chartered accountants become, and when this economy that we're talking about, where we are, is shaping, it's targeting towards $1 trillion, multiple digits $1 trillion economy, we have a wonderful role to play. Globally, related parties being changed by connected parties. The advent of insolvency, IBC, has been a blessing in disguise. And as Atulji mentioned, there's a thin line between now auditing and investigation. And believe me, this line is getting thinner and thinner and blurrer. Everyone is now expecting chartered accountants to tell us whether these statements are true or fair. They are absolutely correct or not. The focus now has shifted from accounting standards, cash flow monitoring. The way you're accounting, we don't want, because everyone has been creative so far. In this 70 years of this independence, we have seen all of us have done different kinds of accounting, all of them, whatever accounting standards we have put in place, everything done, all sorted. But one thing always has stood out is when, especially like Nirav Modi kind of a scam, system, technology, something which is not even entered into the system. How is a chartered accountant or anyone gonna investigate, gonna monitor, gonna report, or is gonna disclose? So there comes the biggest question in place. How are we effectively? So vouching verification is no more required. It's senseless now. As sir mentioned, banking, for example, a bank statement comes in and any of my accounting packages, including the one we are on, they have this ability to immediately do the accounting. I don't have to sit and make a bank statement entry anymore. Every bank statement immediately gets into their ledgers. Accounting is done. Everything goes up. It's only the final representation is where we have to sit and understand. And believe me, today, when investigation has become such a powerful tool, and globally, I'm telling you, everyone is aligned towards investigation. Now, if our auditing gets into that shape, if cash flow comes into the picture, everything revolves around the cash flows, that is where we hit the button absolutely right. So one, I believe globally, one of the initiatives that we are taking off is, related parties being done away, so that we are not looking at connected parties, 29A of IBC. This has opened up the entire horizon of anything which is not correct, anything which is not legal, anything which is in one way or the other shady can be disclosed very effectively. So chartered accountants have got a wonderful tool in disclosing this. And believe me, today, whether it is the MCA, whether any stakeholder, if you just say that this is a connected party, they will not wait to hear if it is a related party or not. When if it is, they will take action or they will take cognizance of this. So very important. And believe me, most of the agencies who are working day and night these days, they're only and only finding faults in the way the accounts are being presented to them. And that is not our role. What has happened is the way it has been presented, the way it has been shaped, it has to be investigated. It has to, so everyone has an expectation now, it has to be investigated. So there comes the use of technology. We cannot do that manually. You need to rely on a lot of technology initiatives. For example, simple 2 years bank statements, if you were to just combine them, club them together, you would see entire trail of funds from one place. If an X amount has come, it has gone to Y, Z, A, B, C, again come back to X. You can see that entire round tripping. So be it Nirav Modi case, be it all of these cases, technology is therefore so important. So now as a chartered accountant, we have to start working on not figuring out how it is coming out or what is vouching, verification, and then entry, posting and all. Understand the process, understand the way it has been done, understand the SOPs. And believe me, one thing that Atulji really mentioned is get rid of manual intervention. Now, a chartered accountant comes into a lot of pressure in terms of reporting or not reporting, or disclosing, not disclosing. The latest case of a big infrastructure fraud, everything got disclosed by exchange of emails. And on what happened was, a simple forensic guy like me or anyone else would have just sat over emails and searched keywords like manage karo, do this cannot be done, please do this, or whatever keywords. And you find out if they are hitting up, you get an entire trail of emails wherein a management is forcing an auditor to do something which is not right. Now, if this goes beyond your reach, if this goes beyond your control, it is manual ki jagah, it is automated, everything becomes automatic. And if I have to create a deviation, it gets flagged off. UDIN, for that example, has been a remarkable, revolutionary product that ICI has come out with. Whatever I have to do, I have to generate a UDIN. So gone are the days of my fake certificates. Gone are the days where signs were complicating and all of these were happening. I've got my UDIN. I'm gonna stamp it with my UDIN, and it gets verified because the numbers are also there in the portal, so I can really tally them off. So one of these wonderful initiatives. The second is data analytics. The kind of work that we're doing, Power BI, SQL, all of these. I mean, these are wonderful tools. And as a chartered accountant, if you want to get into this practice, we have to start learning these tools really well. And for senior chartered accountants who really feel this is not the time to learn, please invest in young chartered accountants. Please invest in energy. They will do that work. They will create all of this for you. All you need to do is just show them the direction. And I think, therefore, as Atulji mentioned, the meeting of this energy, the seniors, as we say, the most experienced one, and the young energy, the powerhouse, if they come together, I think we are absolutely gonna make a super explosive, for this entire economy to overgrow actually. Third, let me tell you a small little example. Anytime a German company, a French company, or any other company who has to do an accounting job, who is to outsource their whatever data or any processes of their companies anywhere, they would want entire room, separate room, RFID access, separate employees, this, that, whatever, and the data protection was, the agreements were absolutely very onerous. Now with COVID, all of this has been relaxed. No one can travel anywhere, nothing doing, no rooms. Our employees cannot go office. Suppose if there's a big KPO in India which is serving, say, a German Siemens or something, I cannot help you. If you want the work done, they'll do it at home. Now the data sharing has started at homes also. Here comes the role of a data analytics guy. Here comes the role of a data protection guy. Here comes, and this all function is being certified by a chartered accountant. And that is what will rely a Siemens or anyone, a CFO or anyone, MD or a board would rely on whether this is happening correctly or not. And this has to be corroborated by automation or by a machine or by a report which is machine generated, not handwritten or not printed. That is the value that we created. And most importantly, last is litigation representation. It's a place to be right now. Everything gone, everything done and said, forget it. Now is where a chartered accountant has to improve his skills on how do you represent well, how do you litigate well. We have to start looking at this as a main area of our practice. Compliances, believe me, anything which is repetitive, predictive is gonna automate itself. If not, there will be people who will automate it. The push is so hard that it will be done. Whether you resist that change or not, you will go in that flow. It's just like our Mumbai local trains. You will have to get down at Dadar, come what may. If you are standing in between, you will get off. Or else, please stay in the corner. And if you are in the corner, Darwin theory, survival of the fittest, then you will not survive. And believe me, we are moving towards $1 trillion economy, and and I'll tell you the best example of what has happened is global initiatives coming into India. Atulji said, we are not 4 lakh, we are 400,000. So we are already talking in those terms, in 400,000, not 4 lakhs. So I think that is a big change of shift. We are now catering to foreign investments, foreigners, and we are talking in that language. We are ready, we are gearing up. And one of our next panelists, Parag Rathi, is someone whom I really look up to. He's set up his own outsourcing office out of nowhere. And I think if he could do it at a small place, no metros, nowhere. But if he could do it, I think every one of us can do it. It's only a matter of that dedication, processes, understanding, and setting it up with good partnerships. So I think that will shape up the entire, the future of this chartered accountancy. And, these best practices can only be adopted by listening to someone like Atulji or someone like, if the next panel who is here, and all of these people, when they talk about it, you reach out to them, you understand what is happening, you meet, you network more, you interact with forums which are more focused on not what is happening in a political era or not what is happening in the council or not what is negative, but do it more with the industry, with the commerce, with whatever is happening, what is shaping up new. Believe me, Dubai is facing up another corporate taxation. When GST came in Dubai, when VAT came in, there were a huge load of opportunity. A lot of Indian CAs went and delivered a lot of work. Corporate taxes coming in Dubai. Same way, a lot of these jurisdictions are now opening up. So I think we've got a plethora of opportunities. I've listed top 5 according to me. But just to summarize, as Atulji mentioned, data analytics, litigation representation, IBC forensic investigation, the auditing attestation part, laws, different country, different laws and their reading, and therefore the outsourcing part. And last and most importantly, cash flows. Shift our base, shift our focus of auditing from more than the standards. So like IFRS, for example, Indian GAAP is now aligned to what is IFRS or a US GAAP. But believe me, there are still large deviations available. And once we are through with our, stakeholders do not want true and fair view now. Every month they are now trying to get into reporting. The ASM that has come up is a big, it's a sign of things to come. You never know, MCA could stand up tomorrow and say that enough, now we will allot audits. Whoever is empaneled with us, they will come. And Atulji, you will be surprised to know, one of the organization has done an empanelment and has earned huge money out of that empanelment. But only it does is no protection, no nothing, only empanelment, and it will be serving to say a particular agency, and then you allot audits to them. Out of these people, allot audits to them. As if it is a club now, and you are part of that club, you pay this much, only then you become entitled to do this kind of work here. But believe me, if this is how it's gonna be, every other stakeholder could come into this picture and start understanding allotment of audits will no more be a management exercise. Allotment of attestation, allotment of all of these services would be more driven by a stakeholder, and not end of the year. No TDS compliances, TDS kata ki nahi, PF kata ki nahi, ye wo nahi, XYZ, done away with. Pure. Where is the fund? Is that the work done? Is the money taken for what it was borrowed for? And you see in the entire debtors, recovery, creditors, connected parties, and all of that stuff. So I think a huge revolution. These are signs of things to come. As I see it, I'm a young guy, of course, in front of Tulji and so many other panelists, but I believe this is how the future of CAs is going to shape up very soon. Thanks.
Spoken like a true investigator. All your examples were very practical, and I'm sure all the audience who are listening to this will get a flavor of how forensic investigations are carried out, what is the role of technology in them, how data protection plays an important role. So I think we need to have separate sessions for all these topics mentioned by you and Atulji. But keeping the paucity of time in mind, I'd like to conclude the session with one last question for the both of you. What is the one piece of practical advice you would offer our young chartered accountants who are trying to navigate the field of technology? Atulji, something for our young CAs?
Thank you, Devki-ji. And I witnessed the 2-3 questions in the chat box as well. Just to summarize, while I'm whatever I have to speak, and I am aware that the time is very short, so I will not take more than 120 seconds. That Gopalji mentioned in the chat box that the audit will remain. I answered, the answer is yes. But the only point is that where we will be our concentration. Whether our concentration will be on the analysis of the data or doing the vouching job. That is something that we are trying to convey from this platform, from this discussion, that you will be concentrating more on the skepticism part, more on the judgmental part, rather than you are doing the vouching of the vouching part. So that is the routine and the repetitive things, meaning thereby that you are aware when the data is sensitized, meaning thereby the process is governed by the cybersecurity, meaning thereby whatever the data you have given, that came as a processed data. And so there will not be any hanky-panky in the processing of the data, because the process is sensitized through the cybersecurity system. Meaning thereby now you have to analyze only the reports which came from the processed data. That is something that the audit will be there in the times to come. And that's why the piece of advice to my young colleagues is, I just jotted down the 6 points. Number 1, server protect your data. Number 2, office management system and the communication with the client should be more automation based. Number 3, integrate accounting with the compliance. Number 4, automate routine jobs. The jobs which, say for example, you have to register a company, a private limited company. Now the 99% of the this process can be automated through the API and the various processes that can be integrated into. So there is no need that, okay, you are looking for a manual job kind of a thing is there. So automate process routine jobs. The 5th one, concentrate on the job which required your judgment and the skepticism. And number last, the ICI has developed a digital competency maturity model which actually evaluate your preparation on the technology. So I request each of the audience here that you attempt that how much you are scoring on the digital competency maturity model, which actually give us an introspection and a level that where we stand today and how much we can achieve in this journey of automation, the digital disruption. Thank you very much, Devki ji, for giving this opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Arpit ji, your piece of advice?
I would like take this liberty to give them some 4 things, rather 5 things. One is anything repetitive, predictive, automate it. Make it a habit. When we started articleship, our first target was do not use mouse while using Excel. This is way back in 2007. Believe me, it has helped a lot, immensely. So anything which is repetitive and predictive, please automate it. Second, try and get rid of manual intervention. It will help you preserve your independence and integrity. Wherever it is possible, say it is not possible, it is not in my hands, it is beyond my control, it is automated. Third, we are moving towards $1 trillion economy. Understand this very, very well. Do not become a cheap substitute for your own CA brother. Do not get into a price war. Do not compromise on your fees. Do not do anything, because you will have to invest a lot now in technology, and technology is not cheap these days. In fact, a good technology will always take you much more, and it's a big investment that will help you in the future. Do not become a cheap substitute for another chartered accountant firm or your brother or fraternity member. And fourth, most important, invest in cloud, invest in keeping data secured somewhere away, so that you prevent hacks, you prevent access, unwanted access, and more importantly, you get to enjoy the power that this technology offers of working anywhere across the horizon, and probably the mobility and the challenges will just make you go ahead in times to come. I have a glorious future ahead. We have got a 73 years of strong legacy. Understand, this will not come just like this. There were massive work done, and this brand chartered accountant has earned its reputation, earned its name. There are people out there who are gonna dilute it. It is on us. How do we stand tall and strong to prevent that from happening? You don't want to talk positive about it, but believe me, do not spread negative about it across any of your spheres. It is you and me who will have to protect this brand. And believe me, we are going to emerge victorious in this entire process. We are going to be the next powerful resource this country has seen, this economy has seen. Thank you.
Thank you, Arpitji. Thank you so much for that impactful closing statement. Thank you once again. Ramit, over to you.
Thank you so much, CA Kumar Gupta, CA Arpit Kabra, and Ms. Devaki Naik for that electrifying discussion. Of course, it is no surprise that as the world progresses, technology continues to be at the forefront. And I'm sure that all the crucial insights that you have shared with us today will be useful to everyone who is in attendance here. Thank you so much for enlightening us on that front. So ladies and gentlemen, we now go on to the second part of the program. As promised to you right at the beginning, it's now time to hear a few perspectives on this special day from the folks at Tally themselves. And for that, I will be calling upon stage the man who heads the India business at Tally Solutions and also a key member of Tally's leadership team, none other than Mr. Joyce Ray. Over to you, Joyce, sir.
Thank you, Pramit. Thank you so much, Devki-ji, Arpit-ji, and Atul-ji. I mean, absolutely electrifying discussion. I was listening to every single word of it with a lot of attention, and I just wanted to start by congratulating the entire Chartered Accountant fraternity on this day, and happy CA Day. I mean, that's what I would basically say. And great to have all of you on board. Thank you very much for participating, and really great start to the occasion. The relationship of the Chartered Accountant fraternity, the institute, the senior members of the institute, of the members of the governing council, and Tally Solutions has been a very, very old one. And we are all very, very humbled and honored by the support and by the continuous encouragement that the CA fraternity has given to us in our product development, in expanding our knowledge, and in many ways also defining how this product has basically evolved over a period of time. I also had a second observation, and which is also, I think, very, very pertinent to today's discussion. Both Arpit-ji and Atul-ji highlighted the issues related to data privacy and data security. And I cannot but agree. From Tally Solutions also, we are very, very deeply committed to preserving the sanctity and security of your clients and your customers, and we are absolutely dedicated to ensuring that there is no misuse of such data, and the end customer, the client, the business has full control over the way that they use the data, the way that they analyze the data, and the way that they share data with whomsoever that they basically wish to. So without any further ado, I really welcome all of you, including the participants who have logged in, and hand it over to Pramit to basically start the next session, which I'm pretty sure will be as exciting as the one that just concluded. Thank you very much. Once again, over to you, Pramit.
Thank you so much, Joyce, sir, for those golden words, which I'm sure re-emphasizes the strong bond that Tally has always enjoyed with the esteemed community of CAs, as both of them keep doing the great work that they have been doing all these years to support small and medium businesses in whichever ways possible. Thank you so much. So without further ado, we'll now move on to our second panel discussion lined up today, which seeks to explore 5 exciting opportunities to look forward to for new CAs. Once again, I'll request Ms. Devaki Naik to be here with us. She'll be moderating this discussion as well. I'll now take this opportunity to welcome our esteemed panelists who will be part of this second panel discussion. Our first panelist is someone who is a fellow member of the ICAI and is an associate member of the ICMA. He leads the tax and regulatory vertical at Singhvi, Dev and Unni Chartered Accountants. He's on the panel of NASAN and FPI for training the officers of CBEC and Karnataka Commercial Taxes Department respectively. He is chairman for the Indirect Taxes Committee of the Bangalore Chamber of Industry and Commerce and a member of the IDT Committee of FKCCI, as well as the GST Grievance Redressal Committee, recently notified and jointly set up by the central and the state governments. Someone who has been specializing in indirect taxes for over 20 years now. Let's welcome to the virtual stage none other than CA Badrinath NR.
Thank you, Mr. Pramit. Very happy to be here. Thanks for those kind words.
Yes, sir. Welcome, welcome. We're so glad to have you here. Our second panelist is founder partner at Rathi and Company Chartered Accountants at Pune, a mid-size and growth-oriented CA firm incorporated in 2012 by first-generation professionals having more than 35 MNC clients managed by over 50 employees. He is a CA from the batch of November 2007 and has also completed his LLB from Ferguson College, Pune. Not only does he help a foreign company set up their businesses in India by obtaining various licenses and permissions for them, but also works in the field of export-import incentives and US accounting and tax compliances. Someone who has been guiding many young members on various aspects related to practice management. Let's welcome onto the virtual stage CA Parag Rathi. Hello, sir. Welcome. Namaste.
Thank you, Pramit, for your good introduction.
Thank you, sir. Welcome on board. Our third panelist heads the taxation division at Rashesh Shah and Company, a CA firm based out of Surat. Not only does he have an experience of over 9 years of representation as a legal counsel for taxpayers before the ITAT, but also he has been an all India rank holder in the 3 levels of the CA examination as well as CMA. He has completed his diploma in IFRS from ACCA London and a certificate course on international taxation from ICAI. He has trained over 2,000 CA students on accounting and taxation as a visiting faculty and has been an authorized representative for over 150 government-recognized startups from Surat under the Startup India scheme. Someone who plays the role of chief mentor at iCowork, Surat's largest co-working space, thus playing a pivotal role in nurturing the startup ecosystem of Surat. Let's welcome onto the virtual stage none other than CA Mehul Shah. Hello, sir. Welcome to the discussion here today. CA Mehul Shah, are you able to hear us? Okay, I think we are probably experiencing a little bit of technical difficulties in contacting with him, but I think he has come live now. Hi, sir, can you hear us? Can you see the show?
Yeah. There was some issue with the speaker.
Okay.
I think
No
now
problem.
it is better. So
No
thanks
problem,
for
sir.
the question, and again thanks Arpit and Atul sir for setting up the tone, and happy to be here with all of you.
Thank you so much, sir. Welcome. Great. So I guess we're all now set to start our second panel discussion for today as well. Handing it back to Ms. Devaki Naik to take the discussion forward. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you, Pramit. Thank you once again. Once again, we have a very interesting panel today, wherein each of our panelists come from varied backgrounds, bringing with them plethora of experiences. So each panelist here is a stalwart in their own line of practice in the field of chartered accounting. They've created a niche for themselves. So starting with Badrinath ji, I would like to request each of our panelists to share some examples or anecdotes from their experience, throwing some light on the new avenues available for our young CAs. I know each one of them practice different aspects of chartered accounting. Each one of them is dealing with different non-traditional aspects of chartered accounting. So starting with Badrinath ji, if I can request each one of you to tell us some practical things that can be of use to our young CAs. Badrinath ji, over to you.
Sure, thanks. That is a very interesting question, Devki. Maybe I'll put it this way. I think after having heard Arpit on how technology can be used and rather how we should actually put it to use. I'll probably take it from there. Of course, as Pramit was mentioning, I specialize on the indirect taxes. So so you'll have a lot of flavor of the tax and more specifically the indirect taxes in what I tell you. In the direct taxes, we've witnessed a little though, not with a very great experience. So a few things on the faceless, going faceless. Indirect taxes is not very far. Right. So and adding to what Arpit was mentioning when he began, technology is here, right? All of us should know how to use. So giving a flavor of both, it is very important all these years for when we talk about litigation. I'll take the same thing that Arpit mentioned. Litigation is the next big thing that's going to happen in the tax front. So in the tax, going faceless, use of technology, all these three put together, there is going to be a very, very, very big shift in our approach and how we kind of look at things. All these days, court crafts, as it's called, maybe when you're in front of a court, in front of a tribunal or an appellate authority or whatever you're representing before whoever you're representing, court crafts or, how you kind of your oration skills was all-time important. But going faceless, I think the primary focus will shift to how we are able to write, how we are able to prevail upon what we want to say and communicate that to the authorities in a written format, right? So one of the very big ask and one of the very big things that all of us should keep our minds open to as far as tax is concerned, given that we are going to go faceless very soon, is how we write. Write in the sense it is not just about the legal precedents that you take or interpretations that all of us believe is very critical. It is equally important to explain business the right manner. A lot of times I keep telling everybody, more often than not, if you understand the question properly, half the work is done. Right? So also, even in the tax sphere, so long as you understand the business, understand what is really the question that is coming up from the tax office's side, I think half battle is won. The rest of it is in being able to marry the legislation, marry the law with the business. Because end of the day, it is a single piece of law that has to be applied and understood for all types of businesses, all areas of activities. So it becomes very important knowing the business, how, like Devaki said, share some, avenues. Avenues are more in terms of, how we are able to explain in a written form. One. Second, yes, of course, I'm going to probably be repeating what Arpit said. Compliances, anything which is repetitive, anything which is predictive, please automate. And government is loud and clear. As recent as yesterday and day before, 2 days back when we had the 47th GST Council meeting, there is a mention saying there is going to be a higher usage of artificial intelligence and machine learning by the government. So we cannot be behind. We cannot be behind. We have to. And in all this, I'll probably give you a small story here if I have that time, Devaki. All of you would have heard this hare and the tortoise story. The moral that all of us have grown up with is something which is called as slow and steady wins the race, right? But is that true today? There is this same story which is given in a different format in a lot of business courses, So what happened in the story to arrive at slow and steady wins the race. Next, so hare challenged the tortoise, and this time it was more careful. Obviously, miles it won. So the learning that comes from there is fast and consistent beats slow and steady. But story doesn't end there. Then the tortoise again challenged, but it changed the route where it had a broad river in between. So while hare was fast, it couldn't cross the river. Right? So the tortoise came in its own speed, crossed the river and won the race. So the learning from that is identifying core competency and then change the playing field according to match your core competency. Sorry, but the story doesn't end there as well. The fourth race, they took it together, the hare and the tortoise. So you know what happened? When there is water, the hare was on the tortoise. Otherwise, they went together. So basically, it's about the opportunity, Devaki. If I should tell you one thing, it really lies in being a team player. It is as a single member, right? You can do it, no doubt. But of course, there is a limit. There is of time. There is a limit of distance that you can travel. But as a team, there is really, really, really no limit. So this is something which I wanted to share with all of you, as far as if I should tell you what are the avenues. Avenues, of course, if I should tell you in one line, I'm just going to repeat what what was told by Arpit. It is litigation, it is forensics, it is IBC, it is information technology audits, it is more about controls. In whichever sphere you talk about, whether it is tax, whether it is audits, whether it is business consulting, anything for that matter, those are the 4 aspects that we should keep in mind.
Thank you, Badrinath ji. Thank you for that interesting story. I think that story will stay with all of us for a long time. And everything else that you mentioned, especially automation, I think that's the buzzword for the entire session today and to the many more sessions that will be followed. Thank you for that interesting start to the conversation. Moving on, Parag sir, can we please have your words on this?
So, you know what Badri rightly said, that there was a time when the practices were person-driven practices. In the old era, you had one chartered accountant doing multiple things, and he was the audit, he was doing accounting, he was doing sales tax and income tax, everything. In the last decade, we have seen that clients want expertise service. They are looking for different services from a different person under same umbrella. So it's absolutely about working together as a team, as associates, within the framework of the law which is provided by ICI or by the government authorities. However, the more comprehensive services you provide to your client today, better opportunities you will be able to dig deeper into the client's domain. As far as my experience on working on different service lines are concerned, I personally believe that the compliance practice and audit practice is here to stay for long. We will have to obviously have upgradation of the technology so that we can be cost effective while providing services to client, because client considers these services as a cost which is an additional cost to them. They don't see much value in it. They generally want it to be complied from the regulatory perspective. So this is going to stay as a bread and butter. We will have to modify our approach in a way that we can be cost effective while we are rendering these services. And this is that first point of connect which we will have with our client. Also, as an auditor or as a tax consultant, we keep on interacting with them. And while we interact with them, we can see to it that we have a different service lines in our office, which we can try to generate more business with those interaction. In my experience, the upcoming area which is coming up is the account outsourcing, which we're trying to do presently with the US. Recently, we started interacting with some Singapore CPAs as well to see that we can have a global account outsourcing practice. While we do this, interesting part is that while we want to use the technology, there is no need for investing heavily in technology. You can use the standard resources like Google Drive, OneDrive, and things like that. The minimal subscriptions. As a young chartered accountant, you don't need to deploy many resources. You just need to have a safe and secure data transition mechanism which is easy to handle. So something of having this interaction with multiple chartered accountants who are working in this domain, especially from a senior perspective, you will get to know how these people are developing technology and what alternate can we build around it. So something like account outsourcing function for a foreign client is something which I feel is a good thing to start with for a new chartered accountant. And the interesting part in my experience has been that you need not be choosing the opportunity yourself. You need to understand, as rightly Badri said, that you need to understand your strength, your capability, and set the stage like that. Once you understand you are good at a particular thing, it's easier for you to build that practice. Something which we have built up ourselves is a licenses permission practice, wherein we help our foreign clients and the manufacturing companies who are setting up in India to get about 36 licenses which they want to operate. So there's something which is came as a blessing in disguise, where we are doing audit for the client came with us saying that there's no consultant who is trying to do this. We went ahead, met the authorities, and we could build it up. So as Badri sir rightly said, that if you have a strength of representing things rightly, you can represent it into direct tax, indirect taxes, some other government offices, be it incentives, stuff like that. So my take is that be open with your client in terms of the different opportunities. the compliance practice is going to stay, but you need to use more technology.
Thank you, Parag sir. Sir, although the discussion is all about technology, you rightly mentioned that technology need not have to be expensive all the time, especially for young CAs who are just stepping in or who are starting out with limited resources. Something as basic as Google services or other softwares with basic subscription fees are also avenues which can be explored. So there's a general hesitation that technology comes with a price. Yes, it does, but there are alternatives also. So I think this is a very, very interesting message for the young CAs. Thank you for touching on that point. Sir, now I'll request Mehul ji to go on with the conversation. Mehul ji, over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Devaki. So talking about the new avenues, I would say that ultimately it's a evaluation, as Sir rightly mentioned, still society sees us as a traditional practitioner. अगर हम train में किसी से मिलते हैं, generally किसी से मिलते हैं, even there are a lot of students here, so once you get engaged, the related party जो आपकी नहीं होगी वो expect आपसे income tax का question ही करेगी. But gradually it's a sort of evolution where particularly if you talk about me, I used to go to Ahmedabad every week for representing cases for ITAT because Surat उस time पे 2012 की बात करें तो Surat didn't have a separate independent bench, so South Gujarat के हर एक केस Ahmedabad जाना पड़ता था, and I had a very fixed schedule to come back by Shatabdi at 2:30. So whenever I used to get free at 10:30 or 11 o'clock, I started attending startup events, and that is where I could explore more avenues because I tried to replicate what happened in Ahmedabad to Surat. And then धीरे-धीरे सूरत में भी वो startup ecosystem develop हुई, and then it also opened up new areas of practice. So in around startups, if you ask me new avenues for young CAs, I would say starting from startup registrations because 2016 में Startup India scheme launch हुई. I would say virtual CFO because there are a lot of times where as a CA you cannot be expected to give your quotation of fees for each and every service. So instead, it is always better to bundle it up in a common service, which I would call as a virtual CFO. And that would help you to get a loyal client whom like a startup client or someone who is doing some new innovative business or a new venture, where you keep on adding value to his business in terms of finance, taxation, costing, and whatever subjects we have learned in CA final. Another avenue which I see is, which I always tell my father also, that कि आप ट्रेडिशनली अगर एनजीओ को टैक्स एग्जेम्पशन दिलाने में हेल्प करते थे तो वो सेम चीज मैं स्टार्टअप्स को 80IAC में एग्जेम्पशन दिलाता हूँ. सो अगेन जस्ट कंपेयरिंग द ट्रेडिशनल एंड द न्यू एवेन्यूज. सो helping startups to get tax exemption under 80IAC, making them fund ready. At present, even I'm rendering few assignment services where we prepare startup for Shark Tank. So like there are 18 startups whom we prepared and they are selected in round 2 for Shark Tank season 2. So that can also be a way of service to make them fund ready. Even as far as drafting is concerned, I can always correlate कि जो भी चीज मैं submissions बनाते वक्त, whether it's tribunal or whether it's CIT appeal जो भी faceless हो गया, तो that is also opened up a lot of new avenues for young CAs. So whatever I learned in terms of legal knowledge, I've also been trying to utilize the same in drafting shareholders agreement whenever there is some investment into startups. So either I prepare the shareholder agreement for the investor to secure his rights, or else it is the founder to secure his rights. So preparing the shareholder agreement is again new avenue, which I would want the young CS to know. And portfolio management for investors or HNIs who are making an investment into startups and trying to make a portfolio out of it. So these are the few avenues which I would like to throw light on and can discuss more about it later on. Thank you.
Thank you, Mehul ji. I think startups is something which even the current government is very actively promoting. So not just starting a startup, but everything that a startup needs. There are multiple services that a startup can need, and CA services which can help a startup is like a win-win combination. You mentioned Shark Tank, which is also a very interesting show which has taken India by the storm. So all your services which you mentioned, the shareholders agreement or even the other services, these are very new services, and if new and young chartered accountants can step in and take up these services, it will be an interesting addition to the ecosystem. There's a need and there's a supply of the same. So thank you for touching upon these interesting avenues, all our panelists in fact. Moving on with our discussion, So now that we've set the tone for what are the avenues available for new CAs, I would now request our panelists to talk about some skill sets which, in addition to the strong accounting knowledge, can help the young chartered accountants sort of take on this non-traditional accounting practices. So if there is something in terms of soft skills or maybe even technology that you would want to recommend, or some other aspect that you think the chartered accountants can be well versed in case they want to pursue something apart from the traditional practices, this is a place where you can share that with our young panelists. Starting with Badrinath ji, we'll request all our panelists to throw some light on this.
Sure. Thanks, Devki. Very, very important thing in the profession that all of us have chosen, the side of the table that we belong to, is knowing the other side. Even the simple law says, hear the other side before you kind of give a judgment. So applying the same thing but in a different kind of a way to our profession is one definite requirement for all of us, is to be abreast with what is happening in the businesses today. Okay, because unless we understand the business, trust me, the answer that if anybody gives me an answer without understanding my question, trust me, I'll not have the confidence to rely on that. It may be a doctor as well. I mean, today is a doctor's day also. So I expect him to hear my problem out before prescribing some medicine to me. So the same is true for us as well. Unless I understand what is the business, I'll not be able to kind of give a complete or a thorough or a comprehensive solution. Because again, I mentioned what I mentioned earlier. The law is the same paragraph, same section, same subsection, same rule, same form for all the businesses. It may be simple, so it may be a software development, it may be trading, it may be real estate, it may be blockchain, it may be e-commerce, anything. The statement, the provision in law is the same, but we have to learn to understand, learn to apply it differently to different businesses. So the definite ask from each and everyone is to spend time to understand the business. Really important. As the other aspect that each of us should be aware of is, today, like it or not, powers of the officers, tax officers, is constantly in question for reasons, many reasons. It is constantly in question. Why, how, the what, the when, many things like that. Primarily, I would say it is because of the approach that is taken, the kind of methodologies that are adopted, etc. So it becomes very important for us to know allied laws. It is not, suppose if I'm talking GST or income tax or Companies Act for that matter, it is not sufficient if I know that. It is equally important that I know other laws. I'm abreast with that. Like there are very many provisions, very many cases, very many aspects in the GST law itself, or the central excise or customs, etc., where they say it will be on par with the CRPC. So what does CRPC say? Right? Today, we also read in our tax laws saying this offense is non-cognizable. What does non-cognizable mean? We assume a lot of things, but unless we spend time reading and understanding allied laws, we will not know what non-cognizable means. We will not know how a blockchain works. We will not know what an evidence can be. Right? So it is very important to know allied laws. And yes, of course, Devki, as you have mentioned, and as we heard it in the previous panel as well, technology. We can't stay away from technology. We can't. If we stay, then it only means we are outside. We are outside the race. If I have to call it a race, I don't like. But if I have to call it a race, then if you don't adapt yourself to technology, then we are out. We are out of the race. So these are few aspects that all of us should definitely spend time on, in addition to our core subject: allied laws, technology, understanding the business. These three are very critical in my mind. Thanks, Devki.
Thank you, Badrinath ji. I think you've nailed it down to the very, very basic essential element that if you don't understand the need of the client and you respond to it without understanding it, then there's no point, whatever the conversation after that happens. So that, I think, is the most essential part. Thank you for that. Moving on, Paragji, we would like your response to this.
Thank you, Devki. Thank you, Badri sir, for helping us understand technical side of it. I would like to talk more on the practical side of practice development. When you want to set up a new area of practice, when you are interacting with your client, apart from accounting, taxation, and the allied law services, the knowledge of the technical laws which Badri sir mentioned, few things which I generally feel are missing in the approach of a chartered accountant. Specifically, it is not to do with the mindset, but it is to do with the way we have built, in studying and preparing ourselves. That the course helps us to be so, detailed oriented, so deep studying that we miss out on some of the softer aspect of handling the practice. So I generally, my experience has been while interacting with the client is that every client needs a foot soldier. If you are willing to take his responsibility on your shoulder, they need you. Whether it is accounting or taxes or any other law or a representation. If you are willing to walk that extra mile for them, if you're going to tell them that, we will take care of it, you rest assured about it, then I think, they definitely need you. What we miss on is that every time we caveat everything with so many ifs and buts that we end up making client little uncomfortable about what we are trying to say. So as Badri sir rightly said, that if you don't understand the question completely and you start giving advice, or you start caveating your advice in a way that he will feel that you have said the answer but you didn't give me the direction. So client wants somebody to hold his hand and make him through the problems. One should be the problem solver for the client. So this approach of client needing a foot soldier and you taking up that responsibility, that will make a lot of difference for any practitioner to look at a different avenues. And I would like to give you an example here. In third year of my practice, when I started in 2012, one of my client was a multinational Forbes 500 company. They were contributing almost 20% of my revenue. And the CFO calls me, says that we are merging our two manufacturing unit. It's been 2 months. We are finding somebody to take care of these licenses and permission to merge, in both the factories so that factory continuity is maintained. We could not find anyone. The Big Four is helping us doing the merger. So we don't have anybody, you will do this. I said, sir, I don't understand this pollution control code. I don't understand factory license, food license. We've never been to these offices. So we don't render any services. So he said that I am aware that you don't render any services, but I don't have anybody else to solve this problem and I want you to solve this problem. And with no option that, when this is your biggest client, you have to just say yes. It's been 2 months of hard work where we went to the authorities and tried to comply with it. And, after completion of the work where we worked on the open-ended proposal, we submitted a pro forma invoice to client saying that X amount, client paid us 2X amount, So this is exactly what I'm trying to tell you, that if you're taking owners on the responsibility of the client's problem, they are going to give you, more than what you expect. One. Second, I was never into an area of practice of licenses permission. This was blessing in disguise for me that I met so many authorities, try to understand different laws, get the permissions through. So today it forms a sizable part of my practice. Adding 35 multinational companies who are trying to come up in India, and you are getting, on their doorstep before even they buy the land. Generally, chartered accountant comes after, the factory is set up and the sales is started. So before that, we cover a lot of ground with them. We make the relationship with the foreign shareholders in a way that we continue to be the preferred choice of chartered accountant firm after the factories are set up. So point I'm trying to make here is that, you need to have that ability to take that responsibility of client on your shoulder and try to drive it, rather than having different caveats. So, and if you are predictable and giving that committed and assured services in the timeline. So this, specifically, if you have, chartered accountants from different towns like Akola, Amravati, and the different areas of Maharashtra, the major part which I see there is that people miss out on the timeline. Client needs to follow up multiple times for the deliverable to the chartered accountants because they're less staff and the deadlines are so much that every week there is another deadline which we are meeting. So if we are more predictable and assured on our services, and if client is well informed about when he should expect we are reverting, then I think that will also add a lot of value to our practice. So these are some of the basic things which, if one has it, adding a different avenues of practice, different areas of practice will be very easy. If you are willing to take a responsibility of client's problem, client will come up with their problem, and even if you are not expert in that problem, they will help you drive that. So, thank you, Dev.
Paragji, I think you've aptly summarized going the extra mile. I think the pollution board example which you just gave, requiring the license for that, that is stepping out of your comfort zone. And if that can be done, no matter what practice it is or no matter what area it is, even if a young chartered accountant is trying to take on new area or new practice, which is not his comfort zone or something which is not traditional, these are the basic essential skills that will take him forward, rather than the knowledge or rather than having a lot of theoretical analysis of a problem. So these are just everyday small things, just saying yes and then doing it or following up on that. So very, very interesting and very important for young chartered accountants or for young people who are starting their own practices. So thank you, Paragji, for this. Mehulji, over to you.
So Devika, I really like the fact that rather than mentioning the degrees, you specifically said skill sets, because skill set is something I always believed कि जैसे किसी को business करना है, then you don't require a degree of MBA. Of course, if you need to operate on a heart, you need to be a cardiologist. Audit report पे sign करनी है तो you need a CA degree. But when we talk about entrepreneurship, I always felt that MBA as a degree, मैंने तो काफी बार देखा है कि it is just a tool to MBA is just a tool to avoid marriage at that stage which parents would try to grab you. तो MBA कर लेते हैं. But apart from as we say skill set, in terms of entrepreneurship, there are a lot of acceleration programs. So to the young CS who want to jump into entrepreneurship, who want to become a startup founder, Siddhant is mentioning MBA Chaiwala. I just had a very recent conversation with MBA Chaiwala. So वो पहले second चाय की दुकान he was planning to open up at our co-working space, and in midst of that he just declared, Praful just declared कि मैं Valentine Day के वक्त जो single रह जाता है उसको मैं free चाय दूंगा, and his blog became so viral that there is no end to his hard work and success story from the day that blog became viral. So yes, you need to be a hard worker. So skill set में hard work and efforts and the dedication is the first skill set. But apart from the skill set, I would also like to make a special mention of the ecosystem. So even when we talk about startup ecosystem, I'm having a lot of discussion with our branch committee members and even the WRC and the CCMs, where we have a productive discussion कि even institute भी कैसे एक incubation cell open कर सकता है या कैसे एक startup cell बना सकता है to help CAs who want to get into entrepreneurship. So I would say skill set साथ we need to have more of an ecosystem where there are events. I would also say like सूरत में हमने बहुत एक अभी recently एक event किया था. If the audience would like to just go through the LinkedIn profile just to see the experience, because lot of people mentioned how the event helped them. So the event was named 21/72 because we wanted to prove कि tier 2 city में रह के भी, so 21/72 is the latitude and longitude of Surat. So Surat also has a population of 75 lakh, but it is still considered tier 2 city. So we wanted to prove how Surat as a tier 2 city we can place them on the world map. And I can very well say कि 200 startup founders Surat के बाहर के आए थे 3 दिन, and we had more than 500 investors and 800 visitors across India who have visited the event, and lot of learnings and lot of skill sets were learned during these events by professionals, by startup founders. So just few of the words I could coin: search about acceleration programs, search about incubation programs, search about startup cells, and try to participate in those events and the webinars and the programs there.
Thank you, Mehulji. Sir, just a small reference about Shark Tank. We've all seen the show, and वहाँ पर बहुत सारे लोग, there were no degrees, there were no fancy designations. They were all starting from their backyards, from their garage, from their home kitchens, and they were doing some fantastic things out there. So that is the reason I did not want to focus on degree or the educational part of it. Of course, chartered accounting is a institute in itself, and having that knowledge is what takes you ahead, but uske ilawa what sets you apart. So that is the reason I wanted to focus on additional skill sets, and all three of our panelists today have given that extra tinge which young CAs can adopt and succeed, because theory is something which books can give us, but this discussion gave us something much more than that. So thank you, Mehulji, thank you, Paragji, and thank you, Badrinathji. I think now the floor is to be open for questions. So I will ask Pramit to see what the questions we have for today.
Thank you so much, Ms. Devaki, for moderating the panel discussion for us. So I think what I have been told apparently is that probably in the best interest of time, we will not be able to take questions at the moment during the forum. But then I would like to encourage all of you out there who's listening to this to please go ahead to the chat panel and put your questions over there. The team will definitely compile that and reach out to you at a later point in time with the appropriate responses. Also, I believe certain queries are being answered on the spot in the chat panel itself. And as I mentioned right at the beginning, do not forget to visit the community portal, community.talysolutions.com. You can pose your questions there as well. So I think I'll take this opportunity to thank once again CA Badrinath NR, CA Parag Rathi, CA Mehul Shah, and Ms. Devaki Nayak once again for that amazing discussion. I'm sure the various opportunities you discussed, the various tips that you talked about, you shared about, will serve as a beacon for the brand new and young CAs out there in the audience and hopefully inspire them to reach greater heights. Thank you so much, all of you, for being here today. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is now time to move from the serious business discussions to a little bit of dose of fun and laughter. I have often I've wondered, is there anything a CA can't do? And the person that I'll now call up to confirm my confidence in this concept that a CA can literally do anything is someone who is a chartered accountant by profession and a stand-up comedian by passion, and is one of the most seasoned performers from the Chennai and Bangalore stand-up comedy circuit. With more than 350 shows across most major cities in India in the last 5 years, he's popularly known as the joke writing wizard. A commerce graduate from SRCC New Delhi, he has also been part of South India's biggest comedy group, Evam Stand-Up Tamasha, for the last 5 years. Not only does he have over 1 million views on his YouTube channel, but also he has been on the Best in Stand-Up lineup at the Canvas Laugh Club at Mumbai. Apart from public shows, he has also performed for various corporates such as Amazon, Flipkart, Cognizant, Barclays, Ericsson, Kohler, Maruti Suzuki, Infosys, DHFL, SBI, the list just goes on. He has performed for Rotary Clubs, he has performed for IIT and IIM alumni meets, and he has also been invited as a TEDx speaker twice. So that brings me to that portion that he had officially paid me to speak about him. So ladies and gentlemen, welcome on to the virtual stage, none other than CA Vikash Paul.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Vikash, as Pramit introduced. And guys, this is going to be the comedy segment of the evening. So this is not going to be anything serious, and this is not going to make any meaning out of it. Okay, so guys, I want you guys to have fun. When I was invited for this this particular CA Day celebration by Tally, I was a little confused because I saw the panelists. There were like so many great people, the experts in the field, and they're going to talk about so many nice things. And then I have to come and tell jokes, like something which made so much meaning to something which is not going to make no meaning at all. And I was like, why are you inviting me in this panelist? He's like, see, we have to show to the CA fraternity that if you're serious about your career, you'll end up like them. And if you're not serious, you'll end up like the last panelist. So guys, so that's I am that example. So guys, see, first of all, I'm very happy that Tally has organized something like this, celebrating these chartered accountants' contribution and their excellence. So guys, can we have a good round of applause virtually from wherever you are for all the CAs who are working hard, and also for Tally for organizing this event. Yes, one good round of applause. I love doing this corporate show like this. Like, I mean, corporate show. I remember I was doing a show like this, and there was HR. 15 minutes into my performance, I told the HR, ma'am, can you please ask your employees to unmute themselves so that I can hear them laugh? She's like, they're already unmute. I'm like, okay. I'm like, so what should we do now? She's like, I'll put you on mute. I'm like, okay, and what about my payment? She's like, I'll get back to you. So and she has not gotten back till now. See guys, I'm not going to crack jokes and HRs. I'm not one of those stand-up comedians who just keeps cracking jokes on HRs, because I'm not sure if the jokes also don't work. So yeah, I mean, yeah. Okay. Okay. No, seriously, guys, HRs are the most hardworking people of our team, of our company.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was my second joke on HR for the evening. Yeah. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. If any HR is there, guys, please don't take these seriously. This is just a joke. I'm so glad today is we are doing this on a CA day. CA Day is a great day to celebrate the contribution of chartered accountants. When how we 1st July has a lot of other significance also. How many of you guys know there's some other days also which is celebrated? Other things also celebrated on 1st of July. Any guesses?
Yes, doctor.
Doctors Day.
Exactly. So today is CA Day, today is Doctor Day, and apparently today is the GST Day also. Like somebody's put in comments, it's GST anniversary. Like in this also competition for chartered accountants. Like एक दिन chartered accountant को अकेला नहीं मिल सकता. Like उसमें भी competition. Like so much competition. Like leave it now. One day leave for chartered accountants now. Okay, somebody's window is making noise. Can we just mute? Abhishek, can we just mute the person? Yeah. So see, what I wanted to say, like why I remember that 2018 government announced 1st July is the GST day. Remember the July 1st. Why? And that day already was CA day and Doctors Day already. Government actually thought it very strategically because when they implemented GST, they needed a chartered accountant to actually calculate the amount of GST. And once you know the amount of GST, you actually had to go to the doctor. So that's the correlation why you have all three on the same day. Who is the most, who gets the most attention on the wedding day of all the people? Who gets the most attention on a wedding day?
Of course, it's the
bride.
Girl, the bride.
The bride. I mean, that's the, but no, somebody gets more attention than them. Like who does the most show off? Like maximum show off is actually the pandits. Yeah, if you see the pandits on the wedding day, they will go crazy. Like उन लोग सबसे ज़्यादा show off वही मतलब पंडित ही करते. Like for example, I remember like whenever you go to any function we are happening and the relatives and cousins, everybody is sitting, you're there. These pandits will come and then they'll start speaking in foreign language. Yeah, and then they'll ask you to repeat also, right? Yeah, like what they have learned in 30 years, they want us to repeat in 30 seconds. Yeah, see, people, and they'll tell some random shit. See, for example, so we are chartered accountants, a lot of people, we don't go to random people's home. And we are like, as per income tax, like 1961, section 144, section 140, subsection 47C, under subclause 2, necessary income taxation, under the head income from house property. Now repeat. No, we don't do that. But the pandits will do that. They'll make you sit there. Now everybody is watching. Pura center of focus is on you. Okay, now they'll start. They'll be like, ready? Om. Om. Sena Bhavatu. Sena Bhavatu. Trigadum. Trigadum. Sena Buraktu Sai Viriam Travavi Tijam Vaditam Vidishavai. Pass. I don't know. It's actually crazy. During lockdown, I remember to uplift my mood, I did one thing. I attended online motivational session. Can you imagine? Online motivational session. During that session, like 15 minutes into the session, the speaker said that if you're good at something, never do it for free. And that is the moment I realized why that session was free. Okay, guys, that's been my time. Thank you so much for all the people who have joined. I think so. The time is up. It's exactly 5 now. So thank you so much. Thank you for giving me the stage to perform for the CA fraternity and all the people who have joined celebrating CA Day. So yes, guys, a very big congratulations. Can we have a good round of applause for the Tally Solutions for organizing this event and celebrating the CA's contribution. A very, very happy CA Day to everyone. If you have liked even 1 or 2 of my jokes, please follow my work, and you can also catch me for future shows. I'm on Instagram and Twitter and Facebook at Vikash Paul Comic. So you can catch me over there for my future shows. Thank you so much for giving me your time. It was a pleasure performing for all of you. Bye.
Thanks. Nice,
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, CA Vikash Paul, for that much needed dose of laughter. I think the last 2 years have been a challenging time for all of us. But I think even more so for our beloved community of CAs who anyway end up taking a lot of stress doing all the work that they do. And I think in the pandemic time, they would have even taken additional amounts of stress managing everything around them. And I hope that the good laugh that all of us had, all of the people in the audience had, all the CAs had, would take at least some of that stress away from them. So thank you so much for being here and for entertaining us. Thank you so much. And with that, ladies and gentlemen, we come to the end of the CA Day celebrations here at Tally in the year 2022. As already shared earlier, we have taken note of your questions, your comments, your chats, and the team will reach out to you. with appropriate responses at a later date. Of course, you can always visit the CA community, which is community.talysolutions.com, and you can post your questions there as well. But before bidding all of you farewell, I would like to take this opportunity to thank a few people without whom this day would not have been possible. Obviously, our esteemed panelists, CA Atul Kumar Gupta, CA Arpit Kabra, CA Badrinath Enar, CA Parag Rathi, and CA Mehul Shah for enlightening all of us with the insights and perspectives that they brought on board. Ms. Devaki Nayak, thanks for moderating both the panel discussions with grace and elan like only she could, and for posing the right set of questions to help the audience gain more out of the panelists in terms of what they wanted to share. So thank you so much, ma'am, for doing that for us here today. Of course, CA Vikash Paul for an amazing, amazing show, and for making sure everybody here is going back with a tummy hurting because of laughter, and a refreshed mind as well. Mr. Joyce Ray, head of the India business at Tally Solutions, for sharing his thoughts with us and the CA community on this very special day. Of course, would like to salute Team Tally for putting together the concept of prime movers and for making our beloved CAs feel extra special on the occasion of CA Day. But last but not the least, each and every one of you in the audience, from wherever you have joined in, for having taken out time from your busy schedule to attend this ceremony and grace us with your presence. Wishing all of you a very, very happy CA Day 2022 once again. This is your host, Pramit Pratim Ghosh, PPG, signing off for now. God bless, take care, stay safe,